You know, first and foremost, can we pay homage to Eminem for creating the word "stan"?
Stan,
You know,
yeah.
I
Yes.
love that, right? You know, back then, what did people say? Obsessed, but now we just call them stands. You keep it moving.
Yep.
So you know, I feel like stan culture in hip hop is probably at its highest level right now, and
It is.
you know, it's impacting the way that we consume music overall, not just listen, consume. It's impacting how we perceive certain things that people are saying in the music and how we're listening to it.
Yeah.
So a very, very, very great follow on Twitter said the following about stan culture. Miss Elsie, she said, stan culture and chart-centric conversations are running how people consume music, and we actively have to fight against it.
Yeah.
So,
Bro, I ain't gonna hold you. That sound like a political statement. Don't it sound like a political statement almost?
It did.
It's like and this is all props too, by the way.
it's
Like,
the type of statement that you might see, like you know how Twitter context. Twitter might put a context on it. Elsie is referring to this.
yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
So what just I guess explain why you tweeted that out.
I think I was talking to someone yesterday about like some like my thoughts on like the current music space, and we got into a conversation about just artists, and I was just telling her about the Doechii album, and I was like, I love this album. It's one of my favorite drops of the year. And she was like, it didn't sell that good though. Like it only sold like, which was like 20K. And I was like, why does that even matter? Like, why are we listening to, like, are we getting paid? If we were getting
Thank you.
paid, like, let's discuss by all means, but we're not
For
getting
sure.
money from that. Like, we're listening to music with our ears. So that pissed me off. So I just was like, why are we talking, when we're talking about quality music, why are the charts, like, what are we doing? And my friend was she's a stan of another artist. So I could see why she had like gripes with Doechii already without even really hearing the music. And I just have an issue with that, really.
I absolutely, let me tell you something. I absolutely
You approve this
love.
message.
Yes.
My
I'm-
name is Uchay, and I approve this message.
100%. Like, that is my perspective for the last decade, damn near. It's just, I've been progressively getting angrier and angrier throughout the years as I've been seeing this enter the ecosystem of the consciousness of what people discuss when it comes to music, right? It's like you said, Elsie, we're not getting paid. Like, bro, like we're listening to music that dropped. Like, okay,
Right.
I totally understand the context of it all. So one thing I will say, while I agree with you, to play devil's advocate on the flip side, I understand the relevance of numbers if we're having a conversation about demand. Who is the most sought after,
Most popular.
the most popular
Popular,
artist, right?
yeah.
If
If
that
it's a
is the
popularity
discussion,
contest.
I'm
Yeah.
okay with it. The numbers being part of it. I think it makes sense actually. But if we're
Yeah.
talking about music, if we're talking about Memphis music, right? We're talking about music from Memphis, right? I don't think it's relevant, right?
Yeah.
I think it's actually counterproductive because we're spending more time talking about business as opposed to talking about, yo, is the beats
Is the
fire?
music
Okay,
good? Like,
how are the melodies in the song? What about the construction of the music? Are the people saying something? You get what I mean? So to me, it's very lazy, and it all points back to stan culture.
Okay.
And why it's relevant is because this is just one more tool that people are using to justify their argument. So if they're like, oh, Drake's song sucks. Oh, it debuted at 98 on the Billboard. It's like, yeah, but Circadian Rhythm is Circadian Rhythm is like Drake's hardest song in my opinion that he's dropped in years. This is me. But did it debut high? Of course not. But people gonna be like, it sucks though. The song sucks.
yeah.
I just think it's weird, and it's just one more tool people are using, to kind of make their
Yeah, for sure.
Make their point.
argument, make
To
their
make a
point. That's
point.
all that's happening. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, DJ Academics is the number one person who does it. Number one. He's the one who popularized it,
Yeah.
like in our quote unquote Twitter
Making it-
streets.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's part of the conversation because Ak has weaponized it for his personal gain. I feel like because when
Yeah.
he be beefing with artists,
Yeah.
he gonna highlight that your album sold 22,000 copies or one if he really doesn't like you. But what do
sure.
you think?
Well, I mean, hip hop is in such a weird place.
Yeah.
You know, I know we all talked about how we grew up with hip hop. You know, back in the day, first and foremost, albums came out on Tuesdays, and
Yeah.
it was people physically going to like Best
To the
Buy
store.
and getting the CDs and stuff like that, right? That was the real measurement. But these days, album sales, it can say it sold 20K or whatever, but on
You
Spotify,
look at the pure sales, and it's like it sold only 1%.
exactly. You know what I mean? And it's,
Right.
but it's like, yo, Spotify, you know, it's the numbers are astronomical. Or,
Right.
oh, you know, I've heard this song on the radio 100,000 times. You know, it's just, to me, the album sales is not, it doesn't mean what it used to mean. But it's a number, and people run with numbers. I think the biggest issue with stan culture, first and foremost, there's a couple, but one of the biggest is trigger words that people use, right?
Yeah.
Just like, you know, Elsie, you mentioned boring. You're like, man, I hate when people say boring. It's true, right? It's just a trigger word people use.
The same with trash.
Trash
You know,
is another
trash.
one.
Same with mid.
Flop.
Right.
Mid. You know which one's the newest one? Well, it has nothing to do with music, but when people say diabolical,
Diabolical.
Flop.
that's the new one.
But I do but the word that I want to use here is flop.
Flop.
That's the word that, you know, it irks me a little bit. You know, it makes me feel
I agree.
You know, when people say something flopped, because, you know, what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, for instance, me and Uchay, we got into a discussion about Big Sean's album, which I thought, you know, I think it sold like 20K or something.
It's sold like
First,
25K or something.
yeah,
Right.
25K, which
Right.
Big Sean, I'm used to seeing like at least 100K.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know, technically, I'm pretty sure his camp is telling him this is a flop. Maybe not using the word flop, but Uche is like, what does that mean? Though? I mean, you know what I mean? So that's one of the big, you know, words that I think, you know, gets tossed in there. But for stan culture, I did want to say this. One of the things about stan culture that I don't love is that, you know, when somebody likes an artist, they tear down another. You know what I mean?
It's
And this
almost
is what's
like you
happening.
just start fighting. You can't. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Because you like Nicki's music doesn't mean that any new artist that's emerging in that same space is like a competitor to fight you.
Yeah.
And I think
Exactly.
that's the way Stan see everything. Like,
Exactly.
Crazy.
Exactly. And that's what's happening with the whole Kendrick and Drake thing, where it's like, now, oh, we have to pretend that Kendrick's making bad music. Oh, I never really liked, man, you guys liked the Big Steppers. You know, y'all liked it. I never liked it. I'm like,
Exactly.
what?
Yep.
So I mean, that when it, you know, talk about stan culture, that's the biggest issue to me.
I like that.
Two things can be right.
because like I
That's
remember
what I
when
live by.
I think it was funny when Cole did the initial diss that he took back, but when he was like he implied that To Pimp a Butterfly was like trash, and like you had all this stands rallying around him, like I knew it was trash. Like J. Cole finally said the truth, and then J. Cole comes out and he's like, yeah, sorry, didn't really
I
mean
was
that.
capping.
Like
I
I
was
was
lying.
capping. And it's like the same people are like wondering, okay, what do we do now? Like, do we hate it? Do we love it? And that's the issue. Like a lot of people just forming opinions, just like
Disingenuous.
Thank you.
Disingenuous opinions.
You know how that's what happens, man. Like, you know, people have their own opinion and they look for other people who agree with them. So
It's
I will say this though. I don't think that people, like, to go into to the J. Cole point. I think there's a lot of people who genuinely feel that way about To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yeah, for sure.
Now it was just, here's the loudest person that we've ever heard echo
Say
this. J. Cole said, yes, thank you. Right? That's all that really was. It wasn't. I don't think it was much more than that. But I did want to. I know we got a couple minutes.
Oh no, at the time. Go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to say to that last point. I feel like we're at a changing of the guards type era when it comes to consumption of music, right? Because remember, that same discussion we had about Big Sean, right? What I said to you was, remember back in the day when people like Juvenile, 400 Degrees was selling like 1 million copies, right? Like that was insane. Like that was the gold standard measure of what a premier
Silk
artist,
the Shocker.
right? Silk the Shocker. All these people were going platinum off, first week, and then obviously streaming came around and the internet came around, and the numbers damn near got cut in half, right? Then it was 500,000 is like, oh, that's the new standard. Then it became 100. If you're not doing 100,000 first week, okay, you're not a big dog. Now, I feel like we're at a point right now where
it's like 50.
It's like probably,
50.
it's probably like
Seriously.
20. I think 20.
It's
Like,
like
it's crazy. Like
Hey,
the
but-
numbers is just going
Yeah.
lower by the day.
But hey,
But I
at the
don't
end-
think it's a thing on we the consumers end. I feel like it's the industry, the infrastructure. I feel like what is like what we determine as a sale, it needs to be revised. Like it needs there needs to be a complete overhaul of what exactly is a
Thank
sale.
you.
I've said this.
I've been
Because like
I've
it's
said
just like
this.
because like
Oh my
you
God,
hear like,
Elvis,
oh, this
thank
artist
you.
sold 50K, and then they put it in bracket like pure sales 2K. So I would love to know where the 48,000, how it came about, like how many streams, like what's going on? Does a Spotify stream? Does YouTube count?
you. I've been saying this
Does
for years.
title count? And so I feel like there needs to be a whole overhaul generally, because like it's just clear that we're trying to use what people like Michael Jackson was using the 80s to determine the sale, and we're trying to bring that to
Facts.
2024, and it doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't
doesn't
make
make
sense
sense.
anymore.
Exactly.
We are at that
Thank
point.
you.
No, dead ass. We're at that
Thank
point, and I don't understand
But
why
you-
it hasn't happened. Like,
but you know
what needs to? Do we need? What's petition? Do we need to sign?
But you know
what
what's
do we need to do?
You know what's hilarious? And this is the last thing I'll say. We switch to the topic.
Sure,
you know
sure.
what's hilarious?
What's up?
Even if people were to sell 1 million, they're gonna start saying, "Oh, he got bots.
Yeah.
He got
That's a
merchandise.
whole nother discussion.
Oh, he got
That's
this,
a whole
but
nother
she got
discussion.
this.
That's a whole nother discussion.
a whole
Man, you know the
nother
label. The
conversation.
label bought 500K. Those
By
you can't
Yo,
win.
by the way, the stands are the ones pushing them type messages.
That is.
And I will say this: the last
gotta
thing I'll
get-
say is, I was shocked when bots are really a thing. Like people do be botting. Let's be very clear about this. Like I'm talking about your bet. When J. Cole said, the people faking their streams,
Yeah.
he's dead ass. Like it happens.
But
What
this is
do
what
you
I want to
think?
say as someone
What do you
behind
know
the
I should say?
scenes. As someone behind the
Oh,
scenes,
Boss Man D-Lo's
bots
definitely
could
faking
be
the streams.
bots could be robots, like actual like bots botting. But what I've seen the most obvious way, like for me, I have several playlists on Spotify that have about 30K saves. And what people do is they reach out to me and they're like promoters, playlist promoters, and they're like, please, can you place this artist song in the top 5? Because they know my playlist is already getting streams.
Right.
They tell me, can you place them in the top 5 for 2 weeks? And you can take them out after 2 weeks. Like, no problem. Take them out after 2 weeks. Take them out for a month.
Wow.
And you figure out that once that artist get placed on my playlist, because my playlist is already getting rotation, their monthly listeners go up.
Yeah. Oh.
It doesn't mean that more people are actively listening to them. And that's why people are fighting for the editorial playlists like Rap Caviar and all the rest. That's why record labels get dibs on those playlists to place their artists on there. Because a lot of people that play those playlists are passive listeners, work like you work at Foot Locker, you put on a Spotify playlist to power the store, or H&M. So it's not necessarily a bot, but it's fake. It's not real. Because I had it happen to a friend. Like a friend got placed on one of the Spotify editorials. It had a connection, and like their Spotify listeners went from 3K to 75K overnight. And like she was bragging, like, oh my God, like 75K monthly listeners, right? Mind you, they can't sell a room of 100 people. They cannot sell out a room of 100 people in real life. And like after a month, it went back down to like 15K because like they took her out of the playlist. So it's like there's a lot of faking streams. Like it's well known.
But that what you're describing sounds more like someone trying to engineer more streams. I'm talking about people
outright
flat out
robots.
buying streams. Like that's happening.
Yeah, people do that. It's sad though, but people.
Yeah, I agree.
Listen to the full episode, link below.